Hello and welcome back to the Voice of Youth podcast. I'm your host, Louis Carlish, and today we have a very special guest. This special guest has represented Australia at a World Cup. He's also playing for Perth Glory as well. Daniel Walsh, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Really, really good to see you. So, Daniel, first, before we get into it, tell us about yourself. Tell us your story, where you are.
So I'm Daniel Walsh, born in Perth. I'm 17 right now. With the Perth Glory at the moment. I've been at the club, been involved in the club since I was about 8 years old, so about 10 years now. Passionate footballer, going through year 12 at the moment, trying to balance that.
Mm-hmm. So me and Daniel have known each other since I've been in the country, so probably 10 years.
Yeah.
I remember playing Daniel in five-a-side tournaments and all the time, and he's always great so hilarious, loud, love to express himself. So tell us about where you started, how you started in football.
So when I was younger, I played a lot of different sports, like any sort of young Aussie kid, cricket, AFL, athletics, basketball, and sort of when I reached 7 or 8, soccer just stood out as what I wanted to do, so I stuck with that. Met you along the way. Started when I was young down at Western Knights in Mozzie Park. I played with a lot of guys that I'm still close with now.
The power of football.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, yeah. And then I moved to Sereno for 1 year when I was about 11. And then since about under 13s, I've been with Glory, but been doing other programs with the club since way before then.
Exactly, so. Yeah. So me and Daniel, I did some Glory programs and saw Daniel there, but Daniel's been in the system for a really long time. So why don't you just tell us how you got into Perth Glory? Where did it start? How did it start?
So since about 10, I was involved in the sort of the old Football West FFA, like Skilleroos sort of program, and I think that sort of, when you're sort of in that system and you're in that crowd, you sort of just take the next step, and ended up joining Glory just through the normal trials process for under 13s, involved in state teams as well, like Football West state teams, national championships, things like that. Moved through the ranks at Glory all the way up, 16s, 18s now. Been with the NPL first team for a few years, in and out of training and involvement with the A-League team. So, yeah, it's been sweet. Yeah,
so you've come through, start at 13s. Yeah. Now, we'll put it out there, before your injury, you were training with the A-League, played in NYL. Just talk about the change between, so you started off at a team like Sorrento Western Knights. When you were 13, was there that instant change of, environment as soon as you got into Perth Glory?
Well, back then you're still pretty young, so you're still, we were still training 4 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, game on Sunday, so it was still, when you're at that age, you're training with the best kids in the state 4 times a week. There's not, none of the other clubs are doing that, so I think that sort of develops you from a young age.
What was the setup like? Could you tell there was up in standards in terms of maybe pitches, facilities?
Yeah, the facilities were fine. They weren't anything special. We've been using McGilvray for many years now.
Yeah.
Using other Football West facilities, they were pretty good.
Been to the AIS as well, haven't you?
Yeah, AIS. Quite a few times over the years.
Sport, for anyone that doesn't know what that is.
So yeah, coming through the system, there's quite a lot of talk about the FFA system and what works and what not, but I can just say I was training with the best kids in the state, so exactly. It was the best place for me to be.
Definitely, and for people, obviously we hear of academies such as, you have the big Europe, but wherever, regardless, what you're saying is, you're with the best kids. It's a massive step up. Yeah, if you're training with the best, you're going to develop. Definitely. And did you find there was a change in mindset from when you started at Glory, or?
Well, I was always sort of, the way I've been brought up with my family, it's always been, I've been lucky to have good family. Yeah. Always, mum's put good food on the table. If we've had no problems or any sort of that. So I've been pretty lucky with that. I guess when you get to about maybe the last 3 or 4 years, you start to develop your professionalism and your diet and the way you live off the field and things like that. But when you're 14, 15, you don't really think about that sort of stuff. You're just sort of playing with your mates still. But the last few years, that's become more important, and you got to do that if you want to perform at a top level.
So. How important do you think it is, maybe not just to get in, but to remain in an environment like that you maybe up the levels?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tough to get in, but it's probably even tough to stay in. There's a lot of kids who drop in and out of the system, and whether that's footballing reasons or not, there's a lot of kids who do both. But I think for me, it was just you don't think about, what if I'm not in next year or something like that. You just at the end of the day, you go out and you play, and you try to play your best, and I guess you just got to forget about that sort of side, because when you're out there on the field, it's just another game.
Exactly. Now let's quickly talk about, you came through Glory. Yeah. You at a young age specifically, you advance quite quickly. Like I remember in under 18s and under reserves games, which the average ages are ranging from about 17 to 20. Yeah. You were 15 and 16. So talk about having to be a bit maybe mature or to fit into that environment. Yeah,
well, when I was coming through, I would have been 15, 16 when I started playing NPL first team, and which is the top men's competition in WA. Yeah. And I sort of just got chucked in at the deep end. We had a few injuries, and I got chucked in with a lot of the older boys, and I was surrounded by a good team, which helped me. And I think I've always been quite mature, that sort of helped. But still, footballing wise, I knew pretty much nothing, like compared to. And
just quickly, in terms of, let's not just talk football here, but sport. How big of an experience, and maybe for life in general, is it to be thrown into a deep end? Do you think it changed you quite quickly?
I think it does. As I said, I was 15, been playing against men.
Yeah.
The first couple of games are pretty tough. You're just sort of trying to get through it, take as much as you can. And I think just with life in general, the challenges and the things that you face from football, all the experiences, all the travelling, all the important games, all the parts where your heart's racing and you're sort of in the deep end, it just helps you deal with everyday situations, because you think, I've been there, I've experienced that.
Yeah.
This isn't.
Definitely.
So.
Well, I can remember, for example, when we were 15, 16, both of us in the gym together or playing football together, we saw that side where it was, playful, it was your mates. But I remember actually playing against you or watching you play, and it was just like this completely different. How important do you think for, we say sport again, that you have that focus or that change in mentality when you're in the deep end or out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, again, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's just another game of football. So if you do all the things you've been doing over the years that have got you to that spot, it's just the game just got quicker and quicker. So I guess, when you're on the field, you're sort of just zoned in on the game.
Yeah. So
it's sort of, you have a laugh before and after the game and stuff like that, just to get out of your system. When you're on the field, it's different. You just.
And what was the culture like being really young?
Yeah, it was a bit weird at the beginning. When you sort of come through, you're one of the youngsters. They don't really know you, but I integrated pretty quickly into the team, and the older guys were pretty good, helping young boys coming through. So yeah, it was pretty tough coming through at the beginning, but when you have older guys like that are good characters and they can integrate into the banter and the team a little bit like that, that's what really helps. Yeah. And I look at them guys, and now with youngsters, you try to do the same thing, because it really does help.
You beat me to what I was about to say. How you think being in part of that environment's now giving you that responsibility of helping bring other youngsters through?
Yeah,
even at such a young age.
Yeah. So yeah,
Fantastic.
Obviously, with my injury, I haven't been involved as much. But
We'll get into that afterwards.
Yeah.
But now we'll get into your time with Australia, or the Joeys.
Yeah.
Now, before we get deeper into it, at any level, representing your national country for whatever is pretty special. Just describe that feeling.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling being out there. You know, family in the stands, international match. You got the Australian jersey on with your name on the back, singing the anthem. It's a pretty surreal experience when you're going up against another country in another country, and it's amazing, and it's rewarding for all the sacrifice you made and all the hard work you put in leading up to that. And
for people out there that maybe are aspiring to do that in certain areas, just how important do you think all the lessons that you learn, maybe in football or in life in general, in terms of maturing or having to grow up quickly? Or
look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a high level of performance. So you're not changing that much from what you're doing at home. It's just in a different environment. So if you're performing at a high level on your own in Perth, when you go like playing at a high level, training however many times a week in Perth, when you move into the national team setup, it's not too much different. It's just a different bunch of lads, different coach, different.
So describe the moment when you first got word that you were invited to participate.
Well, it would have been 2018. You sort of, I mean, I was playing when I started playing NPL first grade. At that point, you sort of the national team coaches, and they talk to the club coaches. They stay in touch, and you sort of get a sense that my club coach is talking to me at that point, saying, "Well, look, you're in the frame a bit," and they came over. We had a few sort of ID camps where they played a few games, and I mean, all the games on the weekend would get recorded and they'd watch them all. So, I mean, I sort of had a bit of an idea that they were looking at me, but when you get notified that I was going over to a camp there, it was. I was excited and a bit nervous at the first time because it's your first national team camp, and a lot of the other players would have already been involved before then. So, but it was once you got over there and you on the field, it's nice,
unbelievable to think young lad at Western Knights to Australia. So your first international tournament was the Asia Cup.
That was it. So the 2018 under 16 AFC Championships, which is also a World Cup, qualifying tournament.
World Cup qualifying. And where did you need to get to qualify for the World Cup?
You needed to make the semi-finals. You need to be top 14 to make the World Cup.
And was it
Asia.
You had it was like 4 groups?
Yeah, it was 24 teams. Yeah. So it was 6 groups.
Oh, 6 groups. Yeah.
And we had a pretty tough group because the Joey's team group before us hadn't done that well, so our seed wasn't that high. So we had South Korea, Iraq, and who we have? Afghanistan. Yeah. And so I mean, you never really know with those youth tournaments. Obviously, the strong teams are going to be your Koreas, your South Koreas, your Japans. Iraq were the defending champions, but they had a few issues with sort of age-restricted players and things like that coming into the tournament.
And obviously, a lot of those countries war-torn.
100%.
And you have to bring that over.
Yeah.
So you got through the group.
So we came second in the group. We lost the first game to South Korea, and then won the next 2, beat Iraq 2-1 and beat Afghanistan 4-0.
4-0. And you played, didn't you?
Yeah, I played all of those games.
Yeah.
And then
we
got to the quarterfinal straight out of the group was against Indonesia.
And I'm going to need to get your account of that because what happened in the quarterfinals?
So we came up against Indonesia. It was
the home nation as well, by the way.
It was in Malaysia.
Oh, it was in Malaysia.
But they had a lot of fans.
A lot of fans.
So it was at the National Stadium in Kuala Lumpur there, and it was, I think there was about 14,000 Indonesians in the stadium.
I remember watching it. It was insane.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, we knew because the team had quite a lot of support. Throughout the tournament, so we knew it was going to be a tough
game,
and we knew there was going to be a lot of support there. you 14,000 Indonesian fans, and then just the Australian, like a few parents and families. So yeah, I mean, it was. I think because we were coming off a few wins, so we were sort of excited going to the game.
Definitely.
We knew Indonesia had a lot of fans, but we knew it was definitely a winnable game.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And obviously they went 1-0 up, and then I can't quite remember who scored after that.
I mean, we started well, so we had. We started on the front foot. We had a few chances. We probably should have scored a couple goals, and they get a goal. I think about 30 minutes in, and then at halftime we came in. We were like, it was a weird one because usually if there's been games where you go down 1-0 and you're sort of down in the dumps and you sort of don't know how you're going to get back into the game, but I don't know what it was. I think it was partly the atmosphere of that game, and everyone was just up for it. And we went 1-0 down, but we were dominating the game, so we always knew that. We were going to get back in the game.
Mm-hmm. Quick. So you're 1-0 down in a major international tournament. Yeah. Talk about mindset quickly. What were you thinking at half time?
So it's. I mean, we've had a with the staff and we've really had great staff, great coaches with the national team set up. Like we've had help with psychologists and things like that at camps before then. So we had a procedure that we'd come in at half time. The coach wouldn't talk for a while. We'd sort of. Just get in, cool down. We'd have 3 or 4 minutes of silence. You just sort of think, drink, regroup. Maybe some boys were saying, "Oh yeah, get one goal, we'll be back." I remember saying, we're gonna get that goal's coming. We're gonna be back into it. And then it was pretty clinical. Like the team talk, just going through some video from the first half, saying where we can exploit them in this. It's not too emotional or
okay. Because for a lot of people that might be like pressure. You're half time for national. But you were able to keep a cool head. And
usually, the pressure's all before the game. I think at half time, if you had an alright half, a lot of that pressure's gone, and you can sort of just go back out there, and it's just part of the game. So we went back out there and we equalised pretty quick. I think 10 minutes in.
Who equalised?
We equalised. I scored a header.
Who?
5 minutes.
Tell me the feeling, because I watched it and 14,000 people score for your national team, and perhaps probably the biggest game you played in your life up to then.
So it was just a free kick, a pretty deep free kick, and we knew we had the height advantage over the Indonesians. They weren't the tallest team, so we just had our runs from this free kick. I mean, if you look at it, it didn't look too complicated. So,
but what were you feeling? That must have just been exceptional.
The ball got swinged in, and it was a good delivery.
I remember watching the celebration. You kept it pretty cool, but inside you must have just been like.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't the most complicated goal. As I said, the keeper sort of came out and missed it, and it was a clear header. Which I really should have scored. Humble, I was lucky I did.
So humble.
I think it was partly because of the atmosphere and the crowd that was there. We were sort of just. It was only 1-1 at that point. Yeah. So we scored, and the celebration was pretty muted because I think we were just trying to stay calm. Because I said, it was only 1-1, but it was still an amazing feeling.
Definitely. So then after that, you end up winning the game.
Yeah, 3-2. We went up 3-1, and then
you got to the World Cup though.
Yeah.
And from that moment, obviously you lost in the semi-final, was it? So
I actually got injured in that Indonesia game, and I got a concussion and I fractured my eye socket. So I couldn't play in the semi-final, but we ended up losing to Japan. I think it was 3-1. Yeah. Which really we were the team was quite burnt out, but we got to that point, and Japan were a very elite team, and they've got a very good youth set up in Japan.
So let's talk about you more specifically in this. So you're obviously injured. You're disappointed.
Yeah. So in the game, I got absolutely taken out by one of my own players, and a couple of days after that, I was obviously after the game we were all buzzing. We were all over the moon.
You were spinning after.
And I had the worst headache I've ever had. My whole side of my face was inflated. But
what about in terms of emotionally? Were you disappointed to miss it, or were you just still?
I think the the joy from qualifying for the World Cup was still there.
That
was our main goal.
Yeah, and the rest was a bonus.
I wouldn't say it was our main goal. We would always talk about winning it.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I think everyone was so over the moon from qualifying for that World Cup that we'd sort of, by the time the team got to that Japan game, we were maybe a bit underprepared mentally for that game.
Fair.
But I was just... I remember going to that game, just like falling asleep in the change room on the physio bed. Like I was still crashed out. Yeah. So.
But anyway, that unbelievable achievement. Yeah. Absolutely. But I was over the moon, jumping up and down for you.
Yeah.
We'll go on to... So you're back home now. Was it year 11? Yeah, it was year 11. Now, I want to quickly go into in terms of that period between Asia Cup, World Cup.
Yeah.
Mindset, was it now just I've got to work harder than ever, I've got to perform? And
yeah, so we had
at 17, or it was 16 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
16, 17. How difficult is that for someone that pressure of I've now got to perform my absolute arse off to make sure that I'm selected for a World Cup?
Well, obviously coming off the making us the top four in the Asian Cup, we being a part of that team and playing the games, it was a massive confidence boost. And I had the National Youth League season that was pretty much right after the Asian Cup, where I had some good games. I played every game in that season as well. So I was, you know what confidence can do for a player.
Oh, absolutely, everything.
And I was over the moon at that point. I was just enjoying my football I was playing, and we had a trip to Turkey. I think it was March 2019, where we went over to Turkey, and we had it was a friendly tournament. We had a few games against, and I went to that. So I mean, I always knew I was in the sort of the frame for it. Some more camps and
fair. It's just quite straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's not like now you got to knuckle down and try to get into it. It's like you just keep rocking up training,
and can we say consistent. Can we just quickly go over that again in terms of, you always want to work as hard as you can, of course, but maintaining that composure, maintaining those standards.
Yeah, look, it's just I've been told it many times, and it's a day-to-day thing. So if you're coming to training, if you're coming to training each day and you're staying consistent and you're performing if you're performing to a high standard, then all that stuff's going to come. You can have goals and things like that, but at the end of the day, it's just
brilliant.
Yeah.
So we'll fast forward now. You've just touched down in, was it Santiago?
Yeah.
And you're first at the under-17 FIFA
Well,
World Cup.
In Chile. We were at it was a pre-camp.
Oh, pre-camp.
So the World Cup was in Brazil.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you fly into... Okay, so let's say you've just landed in Brazil.
Yeah. Ready
for the under-17 FIFA World Cup. Talk to me about the feeling. Talk to me about what you're thinking. Experience.
Yeah, so it was... We get into Goiânia, which is sort of just a town in the middle of Brazil. Not much going on. A few other teams in our hotel. I think the Nigerians were there. And I mean, everyone was just excited. We'd seen the stadiums and things like that. So,
as a 17-year-old,
I mean, at that point,
just living the moment.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I'd had a lot of different trips. I've been to the UK, Singapore a few times, Malaysia, over East a lot. So, the whole hotel thing sort of, it was just normal then. Especially after we were in Chile for 2 weeks before going there. So.
Definitely, we
felt pretty prepared, and
we'll go.
Obviously, it was still being a World Cup. It was still pretty insane.
Now, obviously, you didn't actually during the group stage feature.
Yeah,
but being there, obviously, massive achievement.
Yeah,
you came on against France in the.
Yeah, I got about 5 minutes to the back end of the France game.
Either way, you can say that you played in a FIFA World Cup. Was it emphasised that everyone has a role to play?
Yeah, 100%. And we had as I said, we had a great team environment. So you're on the bench watching the game. Obviously, you're still thinking, "Geez, I wish I was playing," but it's also a team, and you're also happy for your mates, and you're happy for the team, and you want them to perform the best. So the coach made a decision what he thought was best for the team, and you got to respect that and think about the next game, how you can get into the team for the next game.
Definitely, but you can still say that you played in a World Cup.
Yeah. It was still an amazing experience that gave me great.
Learned a lot.
Gave me great knowledge and things that I can take into the future.
As it motivate, even through the injuries, it motivated you to get back to that level.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, no destination is without a journey.
True.
So we're going to talk about off the pitch now in terms of sacrifice. I remember 9 p.m, 15, 14 years old, you at the gym doing extras. I remember you going to parks or just piece of grass and you just banging a ball against a wall, and it's a bit cliche, but talk to me about that. Talk to me about the sacrifice that you made. What do you feel that you've done in order to get where you are today?
Yeah, well, I mean, at a young age, I would always be down the park with my brother Nick, which has helped quite a lot.
Another Perth Glory, by the way. Watch out for him.
So yeah, I mean, they'd always say, you know, you got to spend this many hours in your back garden or this and that. And when I was younger, I sort of I heard that stuff and I was like, yeah, well, I'm training a lot. When I was at a young age, I was going out and playing with my brother, but it wasn't as intense as I'll say when I started playing, sort of at that 16 point when I started moving up the ranks. I'd start like, I remember once I had a game on a Saturday and I had a shit game, so I think it was that day or the Sunday I went down to the park and I'd say, you know, you'd sort of visualize the game and I'd sort of go through all the mistakes I made and sort of make the passes, because I would get so frustrated after.
You just strive for perfection.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so much perfection, but just
strive for better.
Yeah, and just to sort of get out of your system, you know, or that last game or that last session you had is always in your head. So I thought, I'll go to the park and do another session, or yeah. So at that point, I was just into just going to the park by myself, getting a bit of music on, and just pinging some diags against the wall. I had a standard session that I always do, which is to ball against the wall and then some diags and some dribbling and things like that.
And that was just by yourself, even with the glory,
so
those extras.
Yeah, so I learned throughout that period that at that point I was sort of my mental state with the game was a bit all over the place, and I was sort of up and down. Like, you'd have a good game, you'd be over the moon, and you'd have a shit game and you'd be down in the dumps. But I sort of learned through that you sort of you can't be too low or too high, which is another cliche, but
no, it's true, because you're not there yet.
Yeah,
until you're obviously Cristiano Ronaldo or something. You always can get best, and you can always
so it's
stay in the moment.
It's sort of about sort of staying, not too buzzing, but not too down the dumps, which I sort of learnt through that.
And it wasn't just football either. Talk about your conditioning, your eating, maybe your sacrifice socially as well. Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't say I would have to sacrifice massively socially. Like, I'm not big going out. I'm not going out every weekend and doing stuff like that. I don't think I would be doing that anyway if I wasn't.
It's good.
But I mean, you still have more than enough time to see your mates and things like that.
Have you maybe with certain events or certain people, do you think just in general that sacrifice would need to be made for people to get to that level? And we're not talking about you here, we're talking about in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a case by case thing, like what your environment is. I mean, I'm lucky that I have a good group of mates. A lot of them are sports players as well, which has helped.
Do you think that's
me?
Do you think that could be a big factor in how other athletes could strive, have the good people around?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you want to make a living out of the sport, or if you want to do it, you're going to be prepared to make sacrifices. it's all part of it. So yeah.
And you said that you weren't a big going out anyway.
Yeah.
So we've looked at the social, talk about, let's just say off the pitch. So we're talking about conditioning and your food. You're a big guy, so I imagine you need to be filled.
Yeah.
What's maybe for young people looking for someone like you? What would a diet or not? What would it look like?
Well, I'm not like counting the calories or anything like that. I know what I'm putting in my body, and if you know it's quality, what you're putting in your body, then, and it's not too much food, then it's gonna be good for you. Like, yeah, I mean, we have a club nutritionist and things like that, which
perfect.
Give some guidelines about what to eat and what to eat, especially after sessions or before sessions and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And quickly go into, at that age, maybe 15, 16, 17, can you name some of those stuff that you've been eating, or like particular meals that you would recommend?
I wouldn't say recommend. I'd just say it's a standard. My dinner would be like some protein, a meat or something.
But pure, not like...
Yeah, nothing... Yeah, and then just... I mean, I'm lucky that my mum's a great cook, and she does... Yeah, she's been... I've been lucky to have her my whole life, cooking great food, so... Yeah, a salad, some carbs, some fruit and veg.
But you can still enjoy yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Shents and kebabs.
Yeah. The kebabs are great. I think kebabs are great, mate.
Yeah, of course. But let's just tie that all in. You obviously, to make to the level, even where you are or where you've hit, that you do need to put in the extras.
Yeah.
Do the gym, foods.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I mean, from when I was going to the gym with you guys at the public or the public gym, I haven't been back there for a few years because I've been doing my gym with the club, and it makes it a lot easier when you do everything sort of with the club, and it's you don't have to get yourself up and go to a solid gym session. You're in the gym with a few other boys, and it's much easier to get through sessions, and especially tough rehab sessions like I am now. So
well, that's exactly where we're going into now. You've been in the gym a lot because you've had an injury, a very common one for footballers, but yours a bit worse than others. What was the diagnosis? So
it was about mid-January 2020, the start of this year, when I just changing direction at training, and my knee just went.
So what did you do specifically?
It was first of all, it was an ACL rupture, so that's what sort of affected me in the long term. Full ACL rupture with a bit of a torn meniscus as well. Some LCL and MCL stuff going on there as well, with a bit of a fracture of, I think it was my femur.
Did you know you'd done it as soon as you'd?
Oh no, I think it was my tibia that I fractured. Yeah,
but you knew something was up when you did it.
Oh, I mean, 100%. I did it. I felt it pop.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'd know.
I've been there myself, but there's always a faint hope that it's something not as bad.
I think for me, it was a very faint hope. Yeah, because I knew it was like when I did it straight away. I mean, I fainted like afterwards
because of pain.
Yeah.
Oh
so
wow.
My knee was like a massive watermelon straight after.
Yeah.
So I mean, I knew it was bad. Yeah.
So what's obviously raw red?
Yeah.
You seem red. It's raw emotion.
Yeah.
Disappointed.
Initially, it was a bit of... I think it took a while to set in. I got scans that day. Found out the next morning that it was the ACL with all the other stuff.
I remember the message. I was just like...
Yeah.
Because obviously a close friend of ours had done it.
There's a lot of us who have done it. So.
And then I did it next, and then you did it.
Yeah, and also one of my teammates did it the day after.
Yeah.
So it was
exactly
crazy. We actually had 3 ACLs in I think 4 days.
Unbelievable. Such a common injury, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah. So
you've done that. How's the motive at this point not at this point? Sorry, at the time that you've done it, you've just got your diagnosis.
Yeah.
Are you like ready? Let's go smash it, or there's obviously going to be that element of.
I wasn't I wasn't.
No one's over.
Let's go. Yeah, I was just sort of. I think I've always been sort of pretty good with those sort of things and setbacks. So I was sort of there's nothing you can do now. It's already done. So you just got to get the surgery done, and then it's just from there on.
Kick on.
I wasn't too. I guess you'd have some days where you'd be like
a bit low,
thinking, "Oh yeah, like what's this gonna be like in the future and things like that." But as you move on, and when you get past those first few months, first month or so, which is when it's really bad, you can't do much. Once you get back out there in the gym, training, especially where I'm at now, which is about almost at 6 months now, it's a lot of the same stuff that I'd be doing. Like I'm lifting more than I was before I did my injury. I'm feeling pretty strong and feeling good. So,
talk about the flip though. You've been training with the A League. You've been playing youth. There's obviously a challenge with that now. You've done your. How did you deal with it? Maybe did you just take it a day at a time, or was there specific? Did you distance yourself from football?
I wouldn't say I distanced myself from football. I always knew I was going to come back to football, and I always knew that's what I want. That's what I wanted to do. So,
has it changed your relationship with football though?
I think so. I think especially you take for granted
it's a
those sessions
check,
and those games, and I think it's also. I mean, I've been told many times. You can turn this into I guess you can take a silver lining from it, and I can get a lot stronger. I can work on my physicals. I can work on the mental side of the game.
Yeah,
that's what I've been told from people who've done theirs in the past, and it's a pretty common injury. So there's a lot of people that I can sort of bounce ideas off and things like that. So I've got a pretty good sort of mindset for how I attacked it, and it's coming along pretty nice at the moment. I mean, it doesn't feel perfect, but I've still got a lot of time before.
And you talked about it did change, and that reality check for young footballers and young athletes in general. An injury at such a young age, obviously, you're still wanting to go professional.
Yeah.
Is this an example of when it is important to maybe have a backup idea or a plan if that happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to have a backup. I mean, especially in my family, my parents have always been big on the education side of things. And
let's go into education. You're applying for university as well?
Yeah. So I'm applying at uni just to have something there that I can sort of. I mean, the future's a bit unknown at the moment with the whole COVID thing. So yeah, I mean, I want to have at least an offer there or some study that I can go into.
And what's the balance been like though with school? And maybe it's changed obviously because you're injured, but is there still
I mean, I've been missing sort of a bit of school. I mean, obviously when you're away you miss a lot of school.
Yeah.
Like I missed the whole term 4 and a bit of term 3 last year, but I've been missing school for 3 or 4 years now from training early in the morning. I'm lucky that school's pretty close to where we train, so it doesn't affect me as much as it affects some of the other guys who I know miss a lot of school.
Yeah, and that's a big effect.
Yeah, so I mean, I've still been able to do pretty well at school, which I've been pretty happy with. Halfway through year 12 right now, so.
But you do, with that having that balance, you still need to find time to study.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the whole sort of. You need to try balance this. A lot of people say that the football means you can't do school and things like that. I mean, I think you can always fit it in.
Definitely.
I think it's maybe exaggerated a little by people that how much football affects schooling and education. Like you're not playing football 24 hours a day.
No.
There's always time for school and there's always time for study. So yeah.
Do you think it's taught you lessons though about balance and maybe discipline in terms of study and?
Yeah, of course. So I'd say this year is probably when I've been. Obviously, you're trying to ramp it up for year 12, so I've been studying the most that I've been.
Hit the books.
And
you've always been clever.
Yeah, I found it pretty all right, to be honest. People talk about year 12 being this. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, I'm only halfway through, but I guess when you get into your subjects, and it is a sort of an escape from football as well. Like I remember talking to a few years back, some of the older guys that I was playing with that went through the same thing, and they sort of use football as an escape from their study. You definitely got to sacrifice some of your extracurricular stuff that you're doing.
But again, with that balance, you need an escape, right?
Yeah, yes.
How important is it? To maybe just be around your friends.
Yeah. So I mean, I love just getting on the PlayStation with the boys, going out seeing the boys. I think I have a pretty good balance at the moment. I mean, we're coming off school holidays right now, so.
Would you say to young athletes that you need to be able to, you can't underestimate having that escape or still being able to enjoy yourself?
Well, I mean, I don't think that would be the issue for a lot of younger athletes. Like when you're a kid growing up, you always want to hang out with your friends. You always want to have fun. So, if anything, it's probably the other way around. That you need to dedicate a bit more time, especially when you get a bit older, to other things.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for giving us your story, what it's like to represent your country, play in a professional environment, and also to give us an insight on what it's like for when you are injured or a setback, because I think that's really important to show the people that it's not just playing for Australia, but it's how you can recover maybe as well from a long-term injury. Sure. Is there anything you'd like to say before you go?
No, I think that was pretty comprehensive. So yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to be here, and
thanks so much for coming on. All of Daniel's socials will be in the description. Please keep watching out for him. When he's back, he will be back. Keep supporting the podcast. Keep supporting what we're trying to do. Thank you again, Daniel.
Cool.
And this has been a Voice of Youth podcast. I've been Louis Carlish, and we will see you soon. This Voice of Youth podcast was recorded on the 20th of July. Guys, if you enjoyed, please make sure you go check out all our socials and give us your feedback. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Voice of Youth Pod, at Facebook, The Voice of Youth Podcast, and on your favourite streaming sites, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and much, much more. Please, guys, check it out. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you soon.